So now what happens to Tua? Just like Kyler Murray, just like Geno Smith, you're now on the boat where you can get a bona fide veteran quarterback with a ton of experience in this league for the league minimum, $1.3 million.
Wow.
And also you're thrown into this mix with Malik Willis, who has none of the experience of any of the above, but a ton of upside and some tape coming off the 2025 season, much better than the three other guys I just mentioned. Way better.
In the NFL, contracts are supposed to follow the player. When a quarterback leaves a team, the money usually leaves with him. But in one of the strangest financial situations the league has seen in years, the Miami Dolphins are about to pay tens of millions of dollars to a quarterback who now plays for another franchise. That quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa. Just a short time ago, Miami believed Tua was their long-term answer. They signed him to a massive contract extension worth more than $160 million, with over $50 million guaranteed in the coming season alone. The deal was supposed to secure stability at the most important position in football. Instead, it created one of the most expensive breakups in recent NFL history.
Back on Get Up, and we have breaking news on this Monday as free agent week begins. Adam Schefter, what do we have?
Greeny, you asked about quarterbacks in the first segment. We have quarterback movement now. The Miami Dolphins, to the surprise of nobody, officially have moved on from Tua Tagovailoa. They have released him. It's a $99 million dead cap hit, a record NFL cap hit at this point in time. But Tua now will become a free agent. He joins that pool of quarterbacks we're talking about.
After a disappointing season and growing uncertainty about the team's direction, the Dolphins made the stunning decision to release their former franchise quarterback. But contracts in the NFL are complicated. The guaranteed money does not simply disappear when a player leaves. That means Miami still owes Tua roughly $50+ million for the upcoming season, even though he no longer plays for them. And here is where the story becomes even stranger. While the Dolphins are paying the superstar's salary, the Atlanta Falcons have stepped in and signed Tagovailoa for a one-year deal worth only about $1.3 million.
All right, let's get to the NFL. The Dolphins are releasing Tua with a post-June 1st designation. By cutting Tua, Miami take on an NFL record $99 million dead money. Split over 2 years. Miami would rather pay $99 million, Ocho, than have Tua on the team. Tua plans to sign a one-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. So now the Falcons would have two left-handed quarterbacks, Michael Penix Jr. and Tua, heading into 2026. The playoff wins for the class of 2020. Tua is 0-1, 1 game. Justin Herbert is 0-3, 3 games. Jordan Love, 1-3, 4 games. Joe Burrow, 5-2, 7 games. And Jalen Hurts is 6-4, 10 games. Ocho, and they owe him a tick under $55 million. So he gets $55 million guaranteed. So for the extra year, they basically paid Tua about $125 million to get his services for an extra year.
So the math looks like this. One team pays the massive contract, another team gets the quarterback. It is the kind of financial loophole that almost never happens at the most expensive position in the sport. And suddenly, one of the biggest quarterback stories of the offseason is not about touchdowns or playoff runs. It's about how a $50 million player ended up becoming one of the cheapest starting quarterback experiments in the entire league. Just a few seasons ago, the Miami Dolphins believed they had solved the most difficult problem in football, finding a franchise quarterback.
What about Tua? Well, word is now, as we're starting our free agency frenzy, it looks like Atlanta's the spot for him. Number of people who went ahead and posted this, tweeted it, just at the same time I'm getting alerts on my phone. It looks like Tua's going to be a Falcon by the end of the day, maybe by lunchtime out here or dinner time in Atlanta. And this makes sense. This makes absolute complete sense because, number one,
Tua Tagovailoa had shown flashes of brilliance in Miami's high-powered offense. When everything clicked, the Dolphins looked explosive. The passing game moved quickly, the play design emphasized speed, and Tua's accuracy seemed like the perfect fit for the system. The organization decided to commit. They handed Tagovailoa a massive extension that locked him in as the face of the franchise. The message was clear. Miami believed this quarterback could lead them into a championship window. But the NFL moves fast, and confidence can disappear just as quickly as it arrives. Over the next stretch of seasons, the optimism began to fade. Injuries continued to follow Tagovailoa, raising concerns about durability. Concussion scares earlier in his career had already made his health a constant topic of discussion, and every setback added another layer of doubt.
Breaking news a few hours ago on this free agency Monday in the NFL. The Miami Dolphins will officially release quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, the team announced. By cutting Tua, Miami will take on an NFL record $99 million in dead cap money, split over 2 years' time. Stephen A., your reaction to something we knew was probably going to happen, but now it's official.
Listen, the reality is that we all know that Tua can play. But the bottom line is that his durability is a huge question mark. He was never the same since that vicious concussion that he suffered.
At the same time, the team's results did not match expectations. Miami had built an offense filled with speed and star talent, yet the wins never quite stacked up the way the front office hoped. The 2025 season became the breaking point. Instead of competing for a deep playoff run, the Dolphins struggled through inconsistency and finished with only 7 wins. Frustration built within the organization. Changes began happening behind the scenes, from coaching adjustments to front office reevaluations. Eventually, the Dolphins made a decision that would shock much of the league. Rather than continue building around Tagovailoa, they chose to move on. Releasing a franchise quarterback is never simple, but when that quarterback is attached to one of the largest guaranteed contracts on the roster, the consequences can follow the team for years.
Yeah, just all 3 of those people, and that's important for the viewers to know. Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, and Tua Tagovailoa. They will be making basically nothing by the new team that signs them, which makes them attractive. A Joe Flacco, a Kenny Pickett, you go through these lists of these other quarterbacks that are going to be available. Daniel Jones, of course, but like Marcus Mariota, all those guys, you have to pay them full contracts. So yeah. Just for everyone at home, why Geno, why Tua, why Kyler? Why are they attractive? Beyond being good quarterbacks, they'll make like $1 million by their new team based on what their salaries are being paid by other teams. Good point.
And in Miami's case, those consequences now come with a price tag exceeding $50 million. When a former Pro Bowl quarterback suddenly becomes available, most teams have to weigh a difficult decision. Signing a veteran passer usually requires a massive financial commitment, especially if that player has previously been paid like a franchise star. But the Atlanta Falcons found themselves staring at a rare opportunity. Because the Dolphins are responsible for the bulk of Tua's guaranteed contract, Atlanta did not have to compete in a traditional bidding war. The Falcons were able to offer a simple 1-year deal worth about $1.3 million, barely more than the league minimum for a quarterback with experience. In other words, the Falcons are getting access to a quarterback who once commanded a contract worth more than $160 million for the price of a backup. From a financial standpoint, it is one of the lowest-risk quarterback experiments imaginable. If Tua plays well, the Falcons could suddenly find themselves with a starting-caliber quarterback at an almost non-existent cost. If things do not work out, Atlanta can move on next year without any serious damage to the salary cap. This is why the move caught the attention of so many analysts around the league.
Against Cincinnati, and then obviously you have to prioritize him throwing in a clean pocket, trying to evade pressure as much as he possibly could. When he can stand out there and take pictures before throwing the football, that brother's one of the best with them. But they know if you put a hat on this brother, he's going to get rattled. And as a result of that, it compromised their passing game. His arm strength was compromised. He couldn't even throw the deep ball the way that he once could. I'm not trying to tell you that he can't be a quarterback in the National Football League in terms of his talent, but his size and his inability to withstand the physicality that is thrown in his direction, I think says a lot. I actually thought he should have retired a couple of years ago.
In a sport where elite quarterbacks often cost $40 to $50 million per season, Atlanta has essentially rented a former franchise passer for less than what many teams pay their third-string players. But while the contract looks like a bargain on paper, the move creates a completely different challenge inside the Atlanta organization, because Atlanta already believed they had found their quarterback of the future, and his name is Michael Penix Jr. When the Falcons selected Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the plan seemed obvious. Atlanta believed they had found their long-term quarterback. Penix entered the league with one of the most explosive college resumes in recent memory. His arm strength, deep ball accuracy, and leadership at Washington had turned him into one of the most talked-about prospects in that draft class. The organization was confident enough to invest a top 10 pick in him, signaling that he would eventually become the centerpiece of the offense. For a young quarterback, that kind of investment usually comes with patience. Teams draft a player early with the expectation that he will grow into the starting role over time. But now, that plan has become far less certain. The arrival of Tua Tagovailoa instantly changes the dynamic inside Atlanta's quarterback room. Instead of a clear developmental path for Penix, the Falcons have announced that the starting job will be decided through open competition. That means a first-round rookie quarterback is suddenly fighting for his role against a veteran who has already played multiple seasons as a starter. From the outside, it creates one of the most fascinating quarterback battles of the upcoming season. From the inside, it creates pressure. If Penix wins the job, it confirms the Falcons' original belief in their young quarterback. But if Tagovailoa outperforms him during training camp or preseason games, Atlanta could find itself starting a veteran reclamation project while its first-round draft pick waits on the sideline. Either outcome carries consequences for the franchise's long-term plans, and it means the Falcons may be heading into one of the most dramatic quarterback competitions of the entire NFL offseason.
It was short-lived. I wish my Uso the best down there in Atlanta. I'm not sure what's going to go on with their quarterback situation. It's kind of funny. Is this the first time? Is this the first time, I could be wrong, that there've been two left-handed quarterbacks on the same team?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, Ocho.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Ocho.
I mean, it's cool.
He's gotten two coaches fired: Brian Flores and McDaniels. He's got two coaches fired. Now we can look at it any kind of way you want to. And they brought they drafted Jalen Waddle. They gave up a king's ransom to get Reek. They brought Raheem Mostert in there. They drafted Devon Achane. Wide receivers. They brought in Darren Waller.
To understand why this feels so unusual, you have to look at the Falcons' recent quarterback history. Atlanta has been searching for stability at the position ever since the final years of the Matt Ryan era. What followed was a sequence of decisions that often seemed to contradict each other. The team cycled through temporary starters, experimented with different offensive systems, and struggled to find a long-term identity under center. Then came the major move in 2024. The Falcons signed veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins to a massive contract in free agency, signaling that they wanted an experienced leader to stabilize the offense immediately. Cousins was expected to bring veteran presence and playoff experience to a team that had been stuck outside the postseason for years. But weeks later, Atlanta surprised the entire league by drafting Michael Penix Jr. with a top 10 pick. The decision puzzled many observers. If Cousins was supposed to be the immediate starter, why invest such a valuable draft pick in another quarterback? But now the situation has become even more complicated. With Cousins gone and Tagovailoa entering the picture, the Falcons have transformed their quarterback room yet again. Instead of a clear hierarchy, Atlanta now has a young first-round pick and a former franchise quarterback competing for control of the offense. For a team that has missed the playoffs for 8 consecutive seasons, the stakes are enormous. The Falcons are not just evaluating a quarterback battle. They're trying to determine the direction of their entire franchise. And if the experiment with Tagovailoa suddenly works, Atlanta might discover that the cheapest quarterback deal of the offseason becomes the most important decision they made all year. For Tua Tagovailoa, this move to Atlanta is not just another contract, it's a career reset. At 28 years old, Tagovailoa is entering the stage of an NFL career where teams begin to decide whether a quarterback is truly a long-term starter or simply a temporary option. A few seasons ago, he was viewed as the centerpiece of Miami's future. Now, he's fighting just to secure a starting job again. The opportunity in Atlanta is both a blessing and a gamble. If Tua wins the quarterback competition and performs well, he could completely rebuild his reputation across the league. A strong season would prove that Miami's decision to move on was premature and could position him for another major contract next offseason. But if he loses the job to Michael Penix Jr., the narrative changes quickly. Instead of a comeback story, Tagovailoa could be labeled as a quarterback who never quite lived up to franchise expectations. In a league that moves fast, this season may define the next decade of his career. While Atlanta's gamble is getting attention, the real spotlight may eventually return to Miami. The Dolphins are preparing to pay more than $50 million to a quarterback who won't take a single snap for them this season. In a salary cap league where every dollar matters, that kind of financial burden can affect roster decisions for years. If Miami successfully rebuilds and finds another quarterback, the decision to move on from Tagovailoa will be remembered as a tough but necessary step. But if the Falcons suddenly unlock the best version of Tua, the narrative becomes far more painful. Imagine a scenario where Atlanta makes the playoffs while Miami struggles. Imagine Tagovailoa thriving in a new system while the Dolphins search for stability at quarterback. In that case, the story would no longer be about a contract. It would be remembered as one of the most expensive quarterback mistakes in recent NFL history.